Do the pour. Hello there. Hopefully we're live right now. Dr. Michael coming to you on Wednesday evening. Been busy, of course, in a lot of patients, thank God. And we hope that you are enjoying these talks that we have. And tonight what we're talking about is paleo. We're talking about vegan, vegetarianism, and we're talking about the ketogenic protocol. So what we want to really talk about is this an appropriate type of eating style? Is it an appropriate type of lifestyle? Are you doing it to lose weight? Are you doing it because you're really trying to regain your health? Are you doing it because, maybe you got some symptoms that you notice that certain foods cause maybe headaches, or certain foods cause chronic sinus problems? Certain foods cause issues as far as ringing in the ears. I mean, there's so many different things that certain foods that you might have sensitivities to can cause these problems. So when we talk about, for example, paleo, there's been a lot of research with paleo, and there's different degrees of eating, the Paleolithic way. And so it's like our ancestors, the hunters and gatherers, and that's what it's known as. So paleo would be like eating what we call grass-fed beef. But we just don't want it to be grass-fed. We want it to be grass-finished. The reason being is because a lot of times they'll go ahead and feed the cattle grass, but then in order to really fatten them up, the last few months of their life, they're going to go ahead and feed them corn. Well, what does corn do? Corn, 93% of corn, you might have heard this from me before, 93% of corn is genetically modified. That's bad news because they've now bred that seed putting Roundup, which is that herbicide, which is a glyphosate, into the seed. And that's really horrible because that ultimately, as we consume that, is destroying our gut health. So we're seeing so many autoimmune diseases today as a result of the herbicides, the environmental toxins, the water, the foods we eat, and other things like that. So it's real critical, like we mentioned before, organic. In the case, the grass-fed beef, the cow, of course, is mowing on grass, and that's getting the omegas. So we're getting the omegas, the omega-3s. You might have heard how important that is. That's important for brain health. CLA, conjugated linolenic acid, that's critical. They found that association with weight issues, weight loss and weight issues. So we want to have the different types of good healthy fats in our food, and grass-fed, grass-finished beef is going to do that. Now, people talk about, you might have heard of collagen. Collagen is what supports our tissues. It's important for our skin. It's important for our joints. It's important for our muscles. It's important for so many things. And the research, a lot of people do like bone broth, for example. Well, when you do bone broth from a chicken, it's not as effective as the bone broth from the cow. And again, what should that cow be? Yes, you named it right. It's got to be grass-fed, grass-finished beef. So when we get into the paleo, what else would be paleo? Well, nuts and seeds and berries are really good, but you're staying away, from a lot of the sugar. Sugars are just a major catastrophe for the majority of us that have, any type of health condition. So just to go through the sugars that would be a little bit better, what we're looking at is xylitol. Xylitol, it ends with an OL. That's an alcohol sugar. That's a bit better. It doesn't ramp up the blood sugar as much, as well as liquid stevia. Now, I say liquid is because stevia, as a sweetener, can have an aftertaste as a powder. So I say go ahead and do the liquid stevia. Now, some people will say, well, how about honey? How about, molasses? Well, we're always looking at process, how things are processed. Agave, should be okay, but it's heavily processed. And the more processed things are, the more problematic they are as far as raising the blood sugar. Honey is great, but now we got to say, how is that being processed? Is it really truly wild honey, or is it processed? And now what they're finding out is a lot of honey does have the glyphosates, because what's the bees all about? The pollination part. So we they're saying over 70% of the honeys have some of that glyphosate in it, which of course is Roundup. When we look at other things that are good as far as, the sweet potato yams, but those, of course, in moderation. Is rice good? Absolutely not. Rice is going to raise the blood sugar. So the paleo is going to be meats and vegetables. It's going to be like grass-fed or wild game, organic chicken, those type of things. Good quality organic vegetables. And the vegetables that you really want to look at is a cruciferous vegetables. So that's going to be your broccoli. That's going to be cauliflower. That's going to be asparagus and Brussels sprouts. Those are huge. Now, you might have heard before, people say, well, that's goiterogenic, goiterogenic, like creating goiters. Well, that's kind of controversial because there's no really true proof that those are going to cause the goiters. Someone that's already got issues with the thyroid, of course, is going to have, issues with the thyroid until it's addressed by a good functional medicine practitioner. So the paleo, good meats, good vegetables, organic, wild, and grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And again, you got to watch on how much beef you eat because what we notice is that a lot of people do not digest well. As we go through the aging process, and we see this in younger people today, where they have what we call acid reflux, they have burning, they have gas, bloating. Those individuals are not digesting well. And it's not like they have too much acid. Usually they have a state of what is called putrefaction going on. What that means, they're not digesting the protein. So because the protein's not being digested, it's kind of sitting and it's rotting in your gut, basically. So this is really interesting. The piece of paper I'm holding right now, looking down at, it's a product that we really love. And the reason being is because it breaks down 99% of the most popular protein supplements, and this is validated by gel electrophoresis. It degrades 99% of the peptides responsible for GI discomfort, over 90% protein hydrolysis in less than 30 minutes. Now that's phenomenal. What does that mean? Well, if you're eating meat, your body puts a tremendous amount of energy, expends a tremendous amount of energy in trying to break down that protein. Most of us really don't have the capability. That's why we should have hydrolyzed. And there's two products that I talk about. One is Hydrolyzine, and we're going to put a link to that. And then the other one is Pure Paleo. Pure Paleo is it's a shake. It's a wonderful tasting shake. It's actually from beef, but it's hydrolyzed, which means that the absorbability, the breakdown is already in there. And the nice thing about that product is 70% collagen. That's phenomenal. So we talked about earlier how important collagen is. This is just incredible as far as being able to keep us young, keep us healthy, keep our joints healthy, keep our body parts. But it also, this product was also helpful in reducing what we call C-reactive protein. C-reactive protein is one of the big things that, of course, is an inflammatory marker. And when we look at those inflammatory markers, we don't want them to be high. So one inflammatory marker, CRP, C-reactive protein, that is part of the issue as far as, for example, heart disease. When we get into being a vegan, it's real important that you're getting your protein. You're getting enough protein. Our protein needs actually increase as we go through the aging process. So even for someone that's a vegan or, vegetarian, they need to get essential fatty acids. They have to get their essential fatty acids. And that becomes a real difficult thing because what research has shown is that vegans will have a higher tendency towards depression and anxiety. And the reason being is because they're not getting enough of the folates, the B12. The B12 is essential for us to get, and of course that's where most people are getting it as far as their meats. Now, you might have a blood test that was done by, let's say, your medical doctor or some other provider, and they might have ran your B12. Well, that's not a good test to run, serum B12, because it only tells you the state of B12 that particular time. So for example, if you took a B12 supplement or a B complex with B12 and a good quality, one that your body's actually breaking down, absorbing, your B12 levels will be real high. But the problem is it doesn't tell you about the storage. So if we have a situation like that, we're going to identify if you have what's called a single nucleotide polymorphism, SNP, which means you're not, converting and manufacturing the folate. But also, we're also going to identify if you have good quality storage in the blood. And that's with MMA, methylmalonic acid. That is a storage for B12. That's what has to be looked at. So I know some people just have chosen, like patients of ours, chosen to be vegans. Hey, that's fine. Just make sure you're getting your protein, because there's 20 amino acids and 8 are essential. And that's the difficult part, is that those essential our body doesn't produce. We have to get it from some source. So what you're going to be looking at is you're going to be looking at maybe hemp protein. You're going to look at pure pea, which is decent, possibly rice protein, and also you're going to be looking at like pumpkin seed, which is really good source of protein as well. So that's for the vegans. Be concerned about your B12, your B vitamins. You're going to have to somehow, and there is different forms. Instead of, like, for example, fish, which majority of the time you're going to get your essential fatty acids, there is a plant algae that we can get that is high omega-3s, good essential healthy fatty acids. Okay, real critical. You need all that to be functioning really well. Also, we notice real low vitamin D levels with the majority population. They state that 80% of Southern Californians are low, extremely low in vitamin D. Extremely low in magnesium, extremely low in zinc, which is critical, as well as the folic acid. Now remember, I don't like to say folic acid. This is what you've been used to hearing as far as advertising. The folic acid is not good. It is really the oxidized form, so your body does not like folic acid. So it's got to be in the cyanocobalamin form. It's got to be in the methylfolate, or a different form of folate. I'll make sure that we try to put that link up too, because the neat thing is at the end of this that you'll see is that we have a link where you can get 25% off your first order, which is phenomenal. It's a respected company that does nutrition, and the quality control is a key there. And that's real important because and I don't know if you know this, but a lot of the vitamins that are sold in different sorts, even health food stores, there is no monitoring, there is no quality control, because those standards don't need to be as high as a company that is dealing with professional supplements. It's kind of sad that quality control isn't there, because when they deal with the public, they don't have to have that quality control. They don't have to be held to the same standards. So the other thing we talk about the ketogenic protocol. This is what I've been doing. I've been doing this for approximately 14 weeks. I've lost, 17 pounds, which I'm happy, but I didn't do it to lose weight. I did it for health reasons. I'm an avid bicyclist. So I was typically riding, 12, 15 miles, a couple times a week. Now I'm riding 20 to 30 miles a week because I got a couple hour window. And I'm faster now at my age, which, I'm almost in Medicare age, But I'm faster now than I've been in like 15 years. So that has really made a difference with me. It's a great recipe for those people that have sugar cravings, because the whole idea of the ketogenic protocol, I don't want to call it a diet because it's not really a diet, it's a protocol. That raises what we call your mitochondria. Your mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cells, and our health is determined by our cells. And remember, there's 10 trillion cells in our body. So we want those cells to be real healthy, and there is that major need of course, essential fatty acids. So when we talk about the cells, think about our cells have receptor sites on them. So if the cells are not healthy, the thyroid, which is a thyroid stimulating hormone, which eventually turns into free T3, has to be able to attach on this cell and signal this cell to activate the cell to get it to work and function properly. So if the cell is not healthy, that thyroid receptor, no, nothing's working properly. So you're going to have fatigue, you might have brain fog, lack of energy. You just don't feel like you should feel. So don't blame it on age. I'm just getting older. Oh, I must have, I'm just tired. I did this. We all have a tendency to do it as far as rationale. But the reality is, it doesn't matter your age. It's all about how healthy you are and how healthy you want to be. And of course, having the energy to do what you want, to enjoy life, because it's really quality. None of us know how long we're going to live. It's really about, okay, am I going to have that quality of life? So the ketogenic protocol, and I'm going to start a class, I think, in January. So give me feedback if you're interested in a course. I'm going to do an 8-week course, because what the research shows is the ketogenic protocol, you will not notice any difference for about 6 weeks. So I'm going to do an 8-week course on this. So here's the benefits of the ketogenic protocol. Increasing the mitochondria within the cells. It's also proven to work effectively with those people that have drug-resistant epileptic seizures. It's also important as far as weight loss, obviously. It's important for brain function. It's also being utilized in staving off the effects of dementia and Alzheimer's. So a lot of good type of research on the ketogenic protocol. So again, we'll have that course probably starting in January with the holidays coming around. It's going to be real hard for people to, I think, get on track and do this. So what did we talk about today? Well, we talked about being a vegan, okay, the essential need of the folates, B12 family, good quality folate, not folic acid, but the good quality folates. It's essential for women if you're thinking about pregnancy. Get healthy before you get pregnant. This way, it's going to be a heck of a lot easier during your pregnancy. You're going to have a healthy baby. And I talk to a lot of patients, if you really want to create a super healthy, super smart baby, you start doing essential fatty acids, good quality essential fatty acids, and you start doing vitamin D. Understand, our vitamin D level our requirements go up as we go through the aging process. So if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, you're needing about 10,000 IUs a day in order to get to the higher, healthier range, the functional range. So vegans, real important. You get your good, healthy, essential fatty acids. Also the folates, real critical. So get it with get it with good quality supplements, get it some way, somehow. As far as the paleo, it's pretty simple. You're going to just look at the quality of the beef that you're introducing your body. Grass-fed, grass-finished, wild fish. Stay away from the meaty fishes like tuna, like swordfish, shark, those type of things, because those are the bigger fishes and those have a tendency for heavy metals. So the smaller fish don't. I know I talk about people, sardines. Sardines are phenomenal. Why? Because the high level of DHA. DHA specifically feeds an area of the brain called the hippocampus. The hippocampus is your short and long-term memory center. So they did research where people were fed high quality DHA, and the hippocampus actually was enlarged. It was getting bigger, which is a good thing. Okay, so paleo, good. Vegan, good. Just get your nutritional support. We actually have a great shake that it's called the Super Shake, and it has it's got the pure pea, the non-GMO. It's got rice protein. Rice protein's okay, and then it has a pumpkin seed as 3 different sources, which is getting you those 8 essential amino acids that I talked about earlier that your body doesn't manufacture. And thirdly, the ketogenic protocol. More to come on that. I'm excited about it. Some patients have started this, but they found that they didn't do as well because it is more quality fats, about 40 to 50% quality fats. And there is a great, it's kind of a sweet See, I thought you know, stay tuned, but this sweet is pretty good. It's called Fat Bomb that I make. Take about a quarter cup of tahini, which is sesame seed butter. You can use almond butter. Sesame seeds butter better because it's smaller, so it's not as inflammatory. Sesame seed butter. Take some coconut chips, unsweetened from Trader Joe's, a quarter cup of that. Take dark cacao, the powder, unsweetened. Put a quarter cup of that in there. Take some either coconut oil, good coconut oil, quarter cup of that. Or you can use the grass-fed butter, quarter cup of that, melted of course. Mix it all together. Add in liquid stevia to the sweetness you desire. Stir it all up. Then put it in those little muffin pans. And now freeze that for at least an hour, 2 hours, and that becomes your dessert. It's phenomenal. I love it. It's helping me. So that's how I satisfy my sweet tooth. So until next week when we see you again, I hope to see you again. And please, if you like this, share it, because we want to feed you with information. We want you to be healthy. And stay tuned, because what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and send you the links for the few supplements that we talked about. Hopefully we'll be able to do it tonight. If we can't do it tonight, we'll have to do it tomorrow morning because it is late, and maybe Rose at the front desk left, okay? Right on, Sarah with a fat bomb. She's real good at that. Hi, Isabel. Thank you, and see you next week.